Today on the Edmonton Business Show, I'm going to be interviewing Odion Welch. She is an author and an advocate for depression, anxiety, self-awareness. She's also a public speaker. She's the best-selling author, and she has a book called Breakthrough. And she's going to be talking today, just a girl-on-girl chat about how she got started as an author, what she has taking place now with her writing, her business, etc., and her career, what she's passionate about, how she's doing during the quarantine, and if there's any interesting news about Odion that's coming up here in her city or from a business or career standpoint. So I'm going to wait on the line here. Just to give a backstory, I actually met Odion at an event not too long ago. Hey, Odion. Okay, I'm going to join her in, everybody. Have Odion joining us.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good.
I see Jolene has joined already. Jolene is, well, you're all my favorites, but Jolene's got like an extra special spot. Jolene, don't tell anybody.
Oh, well, I'm so happy that I have you on my show. I don't want to introduce you since I kind of did that before. So tell us about yourself, who you are, what you do, and what you're up to now.
Perfect. Well, thanks for having me. I thought I was right on time, and then I was not. I'm actually so excited to be on your podcast because I think, well, like Instagram Live, because I think I've been following you for like 2 years now.
Yeah.
And so it was like such a pleasure to meet you because I feel like we've almost grown together even though we don't see each other on a regular basis. And so I just appreciate you thinking about me and asking me to kind of come join you on here. I'm trying to make it so my lighting is decent. I'm doing, in this heat, I'm not sure if you're dying right now, but my AC unit only does one room good. So I have to like set up the strategic fan system so I can be in other rooms so I don't completely melt.
Oh, yeah, I just took a walk not too long ago, and I'm used to kind of like the Florida heat because I visit family there, but I couldn't, it was really difficult. Just walking for 30 minutes was difficult today, so.
Yeah, I go for a walk in the mornings, and it was like 22, and I was like, what is happening right now? Which is weird, because I've been to Vegas so many times, but as I get older, I do not like the heat.
I hear you.
So about me, I guess I'm in Edmonton with Makita, and I guess I'm like a fempreneur, black girl magic, that kind of thing, and I've always been a little bit of an entrepreneur without realizing I was an entrepreneur. It was more of that, gotta pay the bills. But I always had like a love of mental health, but I can't necessarily say I've always had a love of mental health, but I always needed mental health help. And the journey of getting there and kind of existentially falling in love with myself and the resources available led me to realize how many people didn't have those resources that were like, quote unquote, under our nose. And as a female and as like a biracial female, the challenges that I faced that led to like situational depression would be different than other people, right? There's just cultural differences. There's so many things. And so I really wanted people to see that they weren't alone. And I am also a little bit stubborn, just a little bit. And at the time I was working in finances and had met, long story short, I met a publisher, wanted me to write about finances. And I told him, nope, that's not what's on my heart. Like, that's not what, like, the spirits, whatever you believe in, is telling me. And told me that it was a bad idea to write my book. And I don't do well being told no. So I learned to self-publish, and I self-published my book. It is, I think it's 4 times now. It's been a bestseller on Amazon. I am saying a lot, which is throwing me off today. Hi, Chance. But yeah, my book is, so yeah, it's a bestseller. It does really well in Europe, which I never fully get. So it's like, seems to be whatever, it's like hitting up bestseller status is in Europe. And So with that, with the book, I did a whole bunch of stuff for books, and it's so funny, I'm like waving instead of pushing the button. And then I speak too. So I've done some really cool speaking engagements. Like I did a book signing tour in Western Canada. Coolest place I ended up in was I'm gonna forget the name of the street now. Oh my gosh, Granville in Vancouver.
Okay.
So yeah, I got to like be out there. But the speaking was really cool because I've done smaller events, I've done larger events. Unfortunately, due to COVID, one of our smaller events is being rescheduled again with Teresa Stanley's Girl on Fire Empowerment Workshops, which is amazing. And not only do I get to speak, I kind of get to be like the on-site care bear. But I've done like a whole bunch of different speaking events, and this year, before I say the world ended, I spoke at Kingsway Mall. I got to help with some of the stuff in the back end and speak on a panel about mental health specifically for women. So I guess that's kind of what is Odion in that business sense, but when I'm not working, I'm actually in school right now for my master's. I work with the Africa Center to create mental health programs. I am the coolest auntie ever. That's why I had to give Jolene a shout out for watching. And so that is me in that sense. Is that everything you kind of wanted to know in the general area, or did I miss anything?
Oh, no, you were great. That seems to be a topic that's coming up a lot as far as mental health is concerned, especially since COVID hit, and it came to us with no surprise, really. And I'm working with a health consultant, and she says that when she's out there in the community doing Zoom chats and stuff, it's a common thing that comes up a lot with women, that they're feeling like high anxiety, they're afraid of losing their job and all this other stuff. So what's the conversation that's happening in your community? Do people come to you? Are you on the phone for hours trying to help people during this time? Like, what's going on for you right now?
At first, I felt like I was on the phone forever. I actually had to take some time and reconnect with myself because it was really overwhelming, and I am not a trained therapist. I always need to remind people about that. I just feel like I've done everything but electroshock therapy for my mental health. And so these conversations and just encouraging people and letting them know the resources that were available and letting them know they weren't alone, which is like a big thing for me. And it really was like this sense of change. Like we live in a world that's constantly changing. No 2 days are the same, but we get so used to our routine, we kind of forget that change is inevitable. But as women, and especially as like minority women, there's like this weight we always carry on our shoulders. That's the best way to describe it. And so, like, here's the thing, all women in general are always thinking like, okay, they might be thinking about their jobs, then they're thinking about their husband's jobs, then they're thinking about their kids, then they're thinking about homeschooling, then they're thinking about the fact that they're being parent-shamed on Instagram, then they're wondering if their day drinking is enough or if it's too much. Like, you're trying to balance all these things. You're like, when am I supposed to take care of you? Because, like, female shaming has become such a thing that, like, how do you actually navigate around it, right? And it was interesting because in a lot of Zoom meetings I had, I kind of just got to the point of telling everybody, like, I'm not wearing pants, so if my camera goes off, I was getting some water. And it was interesting how that candidness opened up so many conversations because people are like, oh my gosh, you're not too, like, I felt like I dropped the ball. And I'm like, no one can see if I'm not wearing pants. But we have this, like, need to wear, like, I'm going to quote Brene Brown because I love her, but wear this armor and act like we're perfect and act like we're not so confused, and we not know, like, am I supposed to be, like, super productive and losing 50 pounds, or if I'm supposed to be, like, gaining. And so the conversations were really, I almost feel like they were more empowering because we were having more of the conversations than we were before. But for myself, it was tiring at first. And I think, like, everyone knows I'm like a glorified Care Bear even on my grumpiest days. But the biggest beauty I think that happened in COVID was when a lot of us let go and almost kind of hit that emotional rock bottom, so to speak, like not the actual, but close enough, and realized all these armors that we were wearing, that didn't matter anymore. So you did a TikTok video today about like, you don't have to look perfect, right? And that was so me. Like, first of all, Zoom has that filter where it just kind of makes it look like you did your face. But, right? I love that Zoom filter. Like, my 8 a.m. meetings, I'm like, you don't know I haven't brushed my teeth yet. But this whole need to spend an extra half an hour, like, doing our faces or wondering about this, or what if they see that outfit, we're realizing, like, hey, Bob here on the Zoom call has been wearing the same suit jacket every time I meet with him. So I kind of had, like, a shirt of the week, you know, that I would just throw on when I had to be in a video meeting. And, but yeah, the conversations really changed. And I know we are in all this talk of, like, let's get to stage 3 and let's get back to normal. But I truly hope in some ways this can be the new normal. Like, minus obviously people dying and getting sick and people protesting having to wear a mask. Like, just put some SPF on. You're not going to get a horrible tan line. But, like, this quietness to reflect on ourselves and reflect on, like, the decisions we've made, right? Because if you still hate your job working from home, maybe you're not supposed to be in that job, right? And or finances, like I always say in a past life, I'm designated in human resources by trade in recruiting, and which means I hire people, but I also let them go. And I loved letting people go because most of the time when I let someone go, they were someone I knew was already looking for work all the time, or every day in the lunchroom they'd be like, stupid Monday, stupid Tuesday. They were like, they wanted to be set free, or they were living beyond their means. And it's not my time to judge, but when someone's like got 4 cars and they're one person and they hate their job and they hate their life and they're mad they can't see their children, well, I just gave you 10 months of maybe leaning back a little bit, doing that gardening, like doing all the things you said you wanted to do. You know, if I ever leave this place, I'm going to go work this. Hey, go do it. And I think for our mental health, once we get over the shock of what COVID is and look at the opportunity COVID is, it's insane. Because whether you're like an entrepreneur, a student, an employee, we're almost in a time where no one's going to say no to anything. So, like, if you want to try working online, go. You want to tell your prof, like, if you're in school, tell your prof, like, my internet's been down. It's not going to be like, oh, it's like, actually everyone's on the internet. Like, if you say, like, it's okay. I don't think in my entire life I've ever lived in a time where it's okay to say you're not okay. And it's 100% to be like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea how to do my kids' homework. I have no idea what my business is going to look like. And you can say that, but then people are making resources, hey, Lenny, to help with that. Like, I've never seen the government pay 75% of people's wages, right? Or give GST checks, or teachers give less homework. And so as hard as this kind of new 2020 that doesn't want to end is, it's so cool the things that are happening.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I remember around this time last year, every summer, like I had this inner urge. I'm from Toronto, so summer in Toronto is like New York and Toronto. It's like that urge to always be out. And it wasn't until this summer where I realized it's okay to be indoors. It's okay to spend half of the summer by myself. And because there were certain things that I wasn't going to do before COVID, like I wasn't going to get on TikTok. I was like, forget that thing. It's for teenagers, and I'm on it now. I wasn't going to do Instagram Lives every week, let alone every day as a marathon. I was just like, I don't have time for that. And is that really going to help me? And I think somebody, an African-American girl, I don't know her hand, handle on Twitter, but she said it really nicely. She said COVID-19 forced people into their purpose. And I think that's what's happening with a lot of people right now is they're just waking up and they're like, I need to spend more time with my kids. I've been alienating my wife. I need to get on this business thing. I need to quit my job and just give it a chance. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing, I hope, for most people.
And I think we got more efficient with the time. Hey, Lenny, I know you work hard because it's like I have some people in my life that are still adamant about like trying so hard to meet in person. But as an entrepreneur, like, as an entrepreneur, you have all these random meetings and you're trying to accommodate, so you're always trying to meet middle ground. Next thing you know, like 3 hours is in your car driving here or there. Or if you drive to the office, like, it doesn't matter if you live 10 minutes away, somehow there's an accident or construction. And so instantly, we all got 2 hours minimum of our day. And, like, I don't live with children, so technically, like, some people's children lost 20 hours of their day, it seems like. But there was, like, all these things. Like, even one of my cousins, actually, she's the mother of my goddaughter, and she would not do video calls. And she lives, like, 2.5 hours out of the city. So you literally would have to drive 2.5 hours if you want to see this baby or do this. And she's not a baby anymore. She's, like, 5. But I was like, let me just video call her. She's like, no, it's video call. I tell her, she'll listen to this and be like, why'd you tell everybody? But then COVID happened, and she's like, okay, like, I got to video call my grandparents, this and this. And so now all of a sudden I'm getting to have, like, video call play dates, and we'll color together, which is so much fun. But now it's not 5 hours of my day to spend an hour with a baby. And, like, there's nothing like hugs. Like, sometimes I see somebody and I'm like, oh, my God. Like, I'm like, wait, are you hugging yet? Like, oh. But there was, like, so much time we allocated during this period to appease other people, even though it was exhausting us. Like, when I realized that I probably spent, like, a whole day commuting every week, between, like, all the things that I do and this activity, it really, like, put it in a point for me. So since the world's reopened, I kind of say I don't really do more than, like, 2 outside of the house things a week. And even, like, did you embrace grocery delivery, Nikita?
I've been thinking about it.
Oh, my gosh. Listen, it got so bad, my deliveries. My neighbor was like, just want to check in on you. Like, do you even have room in your apartment? Because, like, shout out to Bucha YEG if they happen to watch this. But they make the best kombucha. And I used to drive to Ellerslie, and I live central, to get this kombucha from Caffeine. Shout out to Caffeine, because I love them. And then, like, COVID happened, everything's closed. But they started delivering their kombucha. So I order, like, a flat and have it in the fridge for the month. Or Superstore delivery. It's like, they just changed their fees, so we won't talk about that right now. But, and I live in an apartment, so now I've got someone lugging my groceries up the stairs for me.
Nice.
And it would be like, you know, you always have that, like, running grocery list. You're like, oh, okay, I just ran out of sugar today, but I don't need just sugar today. So you throw it on the list. I would just add things to my cart when I ran out. And it'd be one big shopping trip. So it'd be, like, on my doorstep within 2 hours of me pushing send. You can be like, get me greener bananas. Like,
wow.
So it's, like, as strenuous as this was, because there was definitely some days where I was like, what have I done with my life? There is so much beauty in, like, this experience that we just, like, I can't say we're post-COVID because it kind of feels like we're still stuck in the middle, like the eye of the storm or whatever in a hurricane. But, yeah, it's definitely, it's been a game changer. I do miss festivals, though, like Cara West will be in a couple weeks, Blues Fest, Heritage Days. So, and I miss networking. Like, there's something about, like, hanging out at the cheese table. Like, where I met you. Actually, we met at the cheese table.
Right.
That, like, you just have the most intriguing conversations. And, like, those conversations that kind of put that light bulb in your head. Like, oh, wait, I didn't think about that, right? It's like those just challenging and new ideas that happen when you're out and about. But at the same time, being still, I'm going to say still, because it's kind of still for me, has allowed time for, like, those great ideas to really simmer and for me to kind of whisk through, like, what's a great idea, but what's a great idea for me.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
No, that's good. I wanted to ask you about self-awareness. It looks like you are an expert on that topic, and I think there are many different reasons why people do things or don't do things in life, business, career, or work. But what can you tell people on the line that are going to end up watching this, and also the people that are attending, about self-awareness? What tips can you give people right now who are maybe just spending 45 hours a week at home? What books can you refer? Your book, any books, authors? Let us know.
I'll always refer my book. Hang on. It hangs out beside me in my office space. Oh, hang on. Look at my painting in the background. During COVID. I love her. So this is my wonderful book. Hang on. I'm trying to get it in the camera. Like, okay, there we go. And actually, so because I self-published, I can control the price a little bit. And I reduced the price during COVID, so, like, people could read it. So it is easier if you look up my name, Odion Welch, on Amazon. There's a few breakthrough books. But it's available chapters, I'd say everywhere but Barnes & Noble and iTunes. So you can get it on Google Play, Kobo, Indigo. I think WeBookIn has some copies right now. Amazon will deliver it to your house. If you want a signed copy, you can message me and I'll mail it to your house. I do like when people message me and, like, ask me for that, because you can e-transfer me. I'll mail you one, and I, like, can put a bookmark in it, or I like to be cute like that. So, obviously my book. I'm a huge fan of the blog Medium. Like, I actually also write on Medium, not as religiously as I should, but Medium is nice because it'll tell you how long it's going to take you to read it.
Mhm.
And so you can kind of see, like, you're on Medium, right?
I did a blog on LinkedIn, but I should be active. I hear pretty successful stories about people who regularly post.
Yeah, like, but the thing about Medium that's so nice is you can just, like, say, like, these are the topics I'm interested in, or look through it. And it's kind of nice when you want to read something different. My reading, just because of my master's program, involves a lot of leadership reading. But it's interesting because you can't really, like, make any change until you can look and reflect in yourself. So although some of them are really, like, technical books, there are a lot about, like, your perceptions or your mental models. And I like biographies, which sounds weird for figuring out yourself. But when you watch a biography and you realize, like, how normal some of these people that we put on a pedestal are and the challenges that they've had, it's really, like, it's super empowering. You're like, okay, they figured it out, or they have things. Like the Hillary Clinton bio on Netflix,
Mm-hmm.
For me, that was one that had me reflecting on myself. Like, I was journaling so much after that. Because there were so many challenges, like, she faced as a woman and in politics, but also the bias that people thought it was like a silver spoon in her mouth when she was coming with the best intentions. And I really liked Waltz Before the Mouse. That was on Netflix. I'm not sure if it's still there. But it shows this side of Walt Disney, whether you love him or hate him, that we don't see. Like, it shows the side of when he was literally homeless, like, living off his, like, vet brother's money, like, borrowing from that, trying to get it, and, like, when his ideas were stolen, because as entrepreneurs and just people in general, when we have an idea and someone beats us to it, or our ideas are intentionally, like, stolen and misused, it's such a blow to our egos, and to our spirit and our creativity. And so to see that it happens to everybody, as crappy as that sounds, but it happens to everybody. But it's the people that just like keep trying, even though it's happening, that make it to the end.
Right.
So that's good. The power of no, the one word. I should probably just make you a list, but there's a book, the other book that I would really recommend during this time is The One Thing, Gary Keller. That's who it is. And it's actually just essentially about the word no. So we always hear say yes, say yes, say yes, but it talks about how powerful the word no is, and it makes you really realize that saying no can sometimes lead to more opportunities than we remember. And talks about like how to say no and not feel guilty at the same time. Because like as women, we're not supposed to say no. Like there's still that, what do you mean you say no? Like, or sometimes like I'll tell people like actually like I need 3 weeks. It's like what? But it's like no, I need 3 weeks or I'm not going to be 100% for what you're asking me for. And so that is a really good, hang on, sorry, there's a notification, there we go, book. So those would be kind of my top get through it. Anything by the Dalai Lama, John Maxwell, Darren Hardy, I'm big fans of them. There is, I'm going to forget her name. I can't remember her name right now. Paulo Coelho, actually, even though he's fictional. Hi, Neil. Love anything Paulo Coelho. And if anyone is actually really struggling with their mental health during this time, I would highly recommend Veronica Decides to Die by Paulo Coelho. And most depressing title in the world. You're going to cry in the book. I'm not going to lie. You're going to cry your whole life out. But it's going to be the best cry you've ever had and, like, the biggest awakening on whether or not you want to be an entrepreneur or a parent or a friend, like, just anything. And it's like a toilet read minus the tears, like 200 pages. So
That sounds good.
yeah. What was your favorite book during this time?
Well, I've been reading a lot of Napoleon Hill and Wallace D. Waddell. We kind of talk about how to deal with succeeding in a recession, whether you have a job or an employee, and they get really, really deep into it. And the more and more I just kind of keep reading their books, there's this like an extra bit of confidence that if they wrote these books during, like, I know Napoleon Hill, he wrote it kind of like after the Great Depression, and he talks a lot about the Great Depression and how there were the most millionaires that came out of that time, even though it was the worst economic time in history. So I read that stuff, I'm like, okay, if they can do that during the Great Depression, we're just going through a little bit of a recession right now. Anything's possible. There's opportunities, like you said earlier in this chat, there's opportunities to be found, and we just have to open up our eyes and listen a little bit more instead of kind of just focusing on so much of the noise, unfortunate noise that's on the news, and just really doing some deep diving, and like you mentioned, the self-awareness, taking that time to just, you know, just go in the basement for an hour or a couple of hours a day and just say, honey, can you take care of the kids? Or boyfriend, I'm just going to take the evening off. Let me cancel my date. I've got some inner introspection, I don't know if I'm saying it right, to do right now because times are changing and I need to level up. So
yeah, there's my grandpa. He always tells me to listen, don't listen to respond. He's like, too often we're trying to talk when we're supposed to be listening. And I had read somewhere, I think it was a Medium post, and it was the acronym WAIT, and it's why am I talking? To ask yourself that, and not in a negative sense, but like, okay, what I'm going to say, is it going to add value, or am I saying because I'm not feeling heard, right? And then why am I not feeling heard? Is this something I'm asking myself? And again, it's that, like, there's some weeks that I do not journal to save my life. Like, I just know. But whether it's journaling or meditation or running or biking or crafting, whatever it is that kind of calms your mind and asks you to reevaluate the situation is so important. And that is something, have you read Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill yet?
No, I've heard about that book.
Okay,
Yeah.
I would highly recommend the audio. And shout out to She's Gold as F. If you gave us thank you. So that is the book that has the most interesting story about Napoleon Hill because it was written kind of during the Depression, but it wasn't allowed to be published until I think it was like 2005. So it was like hidden for like 50 years or something. And it's not like any of his other writing. It's kind of almost like a fictional story, but it really has you look at the things in life that hold you back and how we justify them. And the reason I recommend the audio is because it's kind of written in like 1910 Old English, so if you're not used to that, but as well in the audio, the Napoleon Hill Foundation takes, they kind of interject and they explain some things behind each chapter that might not make sense in today's society.
Okay.
Which I really appreciated. It was, I don't want to spoil it, and they do talk about it, but a lot of the reasons it wasn't published is because it challenges our opinions on government and church and the education system, and are we allowing ourselves to kind of be put in a box, or are we challenging the box? And so just like how you're talking about, like, I think it's Think and Grow Rich, he talks about, like, making your own little, like, table of people you talk to get all these opinions, right? And Outwitting the Devil is kind of like, well, who's at your table? And, like, are they as valuable as you think they are? And who cares? Hi. And what are we doing to stop our own success because society tells us it's okay? So, like, one chapter that was really impactful for me in general, I had stopped drinking years ago, and people think that means I was AA and AA. Was not in AA, although sometimes when I look at those parties back in the day, probably should have been in AA. And but like when I stopped kind of like not wanting to drink as much when I was kind of going through my mid-20s, I was like, yo, if I have to get like absolutely wasted to hang out with someone, should I be hanging out with them? That was really where my mindset was going, and I noticed it would affect my depression if I was drinking, and so there's all these things that were happening. But so I had like kind of a year of no drinking, then I go partying with friends. But in Napoleon's Hill, Outwitting the Devil, he really brings it in perspective in a way that only he can, in the sense of, like, why are you drinking? And are you actually being present, again, that self-awareness, if you're somewhere and all you're thinking is, like, when is that happy hour at 5 o'clock? Like, so if all your mind is thinking about is happy hour at 5 o'clock, how are you working to achieve your goals? And you're waiting to get there to get away from it. So should you actually be where you are if all you're doing is thinking, how am I getting away from here? And there's tasks we have to do where we just don't want to do them. I never want to clean my bathroom. Like, I have a couple nieces that'll be like, want to come for a sleepover and clean the bathroom? Right? Like, there's those things, and we do have to find the joy in them, and we do have to find that gratitude and appreciation of, like, being thankful that we even have a bathroom to clean or those cleaning supplies and looking for that. But some days it's hard. Like that, like getting in the tub, you're like, oh, my back. Like, but it's okay to have those things, but it's when it becomes this daily routine. And that is something that there's so many like tidbits in that book that Napoleon Hill that never gets read for some reason, but I feel like when you put that together with like Think and Grow Rich and what's the one that's How to Win Friends and Influence People that always people recommend from him?
Oh, I'm not sure who the name of the author is on that one. Is it the 17 Rules of Success, I think?
No, it's funny because it's like all my books are way over there, and I've been rearranging, and so they're somehow making it so I can't read the author. I can just see lots of books. But yeah, no, it's like when you read those books, sometimes. This is the other thing I'll say about books. Is I'll ask it to you instead of telling everybody. Do you find that sometimes when you read a book, even though it has the same thing that every other book has, all of a sudden it makes sense?
Yeah, it does. Repetition really helps me. Like, I read books 2 or 3 times over.
Yeah.
Sometimes I miss things the first time. I don't know if you noticed.
Every time. And it's totally like, another shout out to Paulo Coelho, but in The Alchemist he talks about we're not supposed to read a book till it's our time. And so, depending on what you're going through in life, that message might hit you completely different. Like, Think and Grow Rich, I've read it a few times. There is a chapter about, like, how to apply for jobs. So most people look at that book as, like, an entrepreneur thing. But if someone's reading that book because, you know, they've been laid off, they're trying to get back to that 9 to 5, that is such a great book on tips on, like, how to think about your 9 to 5, how to approach it, how to do the interviews, and not in the sense of, like, show up 10 minutes early, but what is your intent, and how are you interacting, and how are you showing that you're uniquely different and you're not kind of a sheep in the herd. But like, I had read that, I saw that part of the book when I was going through, like, I need a job to find my thing. And like, it's funny, because I was on an entrepreneur thing, but I knew I needed something, like, I needed to bring in more income. But I was reading the book thinking maybe I'll find a way to get more income reading this book, and I had noticed that it talked, at a point I was talking about, like, how to work. And I was like, oh, interesting. And then when I read it again, when my business was doing some different things, I was like, oh, this is what I'm seeing. So it's like, you're so right when you read a book 3 times, Akita, because you just never know what you're going to get.
That's true. This has been a really great chat. The last question I wanted to ask was, do you have anything coming up in the pipeline, any new books coming up, anything interesting that people need to know?
Actually, so I saw you, in case no one noticed. I ran into you at the Black-owned market on Sunday. Shout out to them. And, I'm almost done my next book.
Awesome.
So, yeah, I'm really excited. I have a couple people contributing that I think have really great stories. So I'm just waiting for their final parts, and we'll kind of get moving on that. And so it's like, you think it would be less like, that, like, oh, whatever, it's my next book. But it's totally all of those, like, little feelings that are coming up. And although it should publish, we're probably looking about mid-September. Okay. It's also like the writing, so you never know. Like, with my first book, the publishing date got pushed by 6 weeks because of cover issues. And so we're hoping and we're praying and we're doing everything for mid-September. But don't be mad if it gets a couple weeks late, people.
Oh, that's great. That's really good to hear. I'm always happy to see people doing projects on their own and making them happen. And yeah, let me know. We can do another Edmonton Business Show. You can come on and talk about it. I'd love for you to.
That would be great. And what about you? What's next in the pipeline other than your TikTok tutorial in a few minutes?
I'm going to be working on an online course for LinkedIn. I'm just finding that there are a lot of people that have signed up, but not people like creating original content. And I've been on it for a good 6 months, just posting several times a day, and I'm at the point where I'm getting a large, commentary and a following, which is great. But somebody, Licia, I'm not sure if you're familiar with her, but she said, why don't you do one for LinkedIn, because I'd be interested in it. So I have to find a way to put this course together and then launch it and then let the whole world know. So that's my next big project.
Ooh, let me know and I'll share it too. Yeah, it's so interesting because LinkedIn's it's almost in that awkward, remember a few years ago when Facebook was in that awkward phase of does it hang out with the young people or does it hang out with the old people? And then it found its niche. I think LinkedIn's kind of going through the same thing, because there's still some people that are kind of using it like it's their Facebook account, and you're like, it's a little bit too sexy for business. But then there's people who are try to connect. But you know what? The one thing I miss but don't miss about networking events is, I called them the drive-buyers. Do you remember when people would just come, and they'd come up to everyone going, here's my business card. here's my business card. Here's my business card. Ryan's laughing at me. But we all know what we're talking about. There's like, you're like, how did I get through this entire room in 10 minutes? I don't know their name, and now their business card is in my hand. And so I always call them the drive-buyers, because you could see them like a mile away, like I'm about to get a drive-by, but drive-by business cards. And right now on LinkedIn, it seems like there's speed dating, right? It's like there's people, and especially like some MLMs and stuff, I'll be like, oh, friend request, whatever, accept. And it's like, hey, how are you? This is my business, and we should meet. You should take all my products. And I'm like, what just happened? You should give me referrals. You're like, whoa, what just happened?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, so it'd be nice if there was like kind of LinkedIn etiquette, like don't bombard somebody at 6 a.m. and like be genuine if you're going to bombard them. Be like, I don't know how I'm paying my dinner this week, so I'm going to bombard you. But just really that. And LinkedIn, to anybody who's watching, is not a dating site. Like, Makita, have you gotten like those people try to like slide into your LinkedIn DM? They're like, yeah, don't ask me if I'm single on LinkedIn. Like, no. Find me a networking event when post-COVID and wear a mask and social distance.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've had a couple of those messages, and I had to respectfully decline, because sometimes people out people. I've seen women like literally screenshot, not block the person's face or name, and just a long blog post and like hundreds of comments, and I'm tagging the person. I'm like, oh, you can't do that. But I don't know what that woman went through in her life for her to be that, passionate about exposing people, but it happens a lot on LinkedIn, yeah.
Yeah, LinkedIn is not the place for Here's the thing. Nowhere is the place for shaming. Shaming does not lead to positive results. Unless you're like, I'm horrible for like shaming businesses on Twitter when they do a crappy job. Like, but that's like a business itself, But like shaming individuals is, I'm sorry, like that'll be my one thing. I do not like shaming, and I especially do not like shaming on business platforms. And the fact that we have to remind people, last year, not to shame on business platforms is crazy. And if you know what, you love shaming or you love roasting on Instagram and I'm sure on TikTok, just have a different page.
True.
Like, I like cosplaying and really nerdy stuff, and I think some single memes are hilarious. So I have like I have a personal page just for that, because people who come to me for like resources on depression or like to be connected to other businesses or to come listen to us chat, they don't want to see like my single swag repost. Right? And so it's just having those clear lines of like, this is my personal, when I'm going on a like, here's all my nieces thing, that's not my business, have a separate page for that.
Right.
Yeah, last year, right? I think I just said that right. Commented that people need to be supportive and inspiring. 100%. And I'm going to assume you're an eyelash business last year, right? And what's amazing is like you have such a platform to do that too. Like I open code, like you could sit there like try to make people feel like not pretty because they're not doing lashes, or you can just like give them a shout out, or say this is how you take care of your natural lashes, and yeah, there's businesses out there that aren't doing it right and they're not using the proper things, but this is what you do in that situation, and this is how you tell them, and this is how you do better. And so, like, I'm pretty sure I've actually seen your page before because my sisters told me about it. And, like, that's something you do. And, like, be educational and share it. We have so much negativity, like, in the world, and we can control some of the output that we put into it. And there are going to be times where it seems kind of negative. Like, I know with Black Lives Matter, Makita, we both get affected by that. And when I was posting a lot more about it, some people were like, I don't want to see this. And my response was like, first of all, like, I'll never shame anybody. I'm like, let's have a conversation, and I want to educate you and empower you. But if you don't want to see a struggle that I'm going through when I'm giving it in the most caring, compassionate way possible, then you don't actually want to see me. And that's something you could probably tell people, like, in your opinion, through TikTok or Instagram Live, what's your opinion is the best way to kind of share the information that is a little bit heavy but needs to be shared? Like, what's your strategy?
I would say start off with like an open-ended question, kind of make people think, make people want to actually leave a comment. Again, without making a group of people feel sad or angry, but just kind of having compassion and that emotional intelligence to say, COVID hit and now all of these things are happening in the world. The world feels like it's going through a global earthquake. I want to hear what each and every one of you has to say, whether you agree with me, whether you don't. Let me know in the comments. And I think like conversations like that can just explode on like Facebook or LinkedIn. TikTok, oh man, you see everything on TikTok, like just people just talking about everything. Some people are compassionate, some people are angry, but I think the compassionate area is where you want to stand, because the kids, they're 15, they're 12, they can go ham on TikTok and be angry, but a grown adult who wants to be professional, it's just kind of like using that emotional intelligence, having a soft tone, instead of pointing fingers and making anybody feel bad. We all can grow, we all can change. This whole world is going through a transition right now, and just having that compassion and putting the conversation out there, even if somebody gets in the comments and is just like, bop, 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 and just going off on a tangent, respect that person's point of view for whatever reason that's how they feel, but it's just kind of like opening up the conversation. Sometimes conversations online like that can actually make people have that light bulb moment, like, wow, I didn't know that people go through this. I didn't know that when this happens, this is what happens in their relationships, in their home, with their finances, with their mental health. So it's just kind of having an open-ended conversation, I think.
And I think that's so important, too, because there's a phrase, you don't know what you don't know. And we're so quick to assume that people know everything. And that was actually, so, like, the Black Lives Matter movement, the two most impactful conversations I had, and they'll be short because I know you got to kick me off soon, but one was with somebody in the Victoria Police Department. And we had a conversation, and she's just like, can I even say black people right now? Yeah. And it hurt my heart that because like she has no ill intention, but she was really transparent. She's like, I'm from a town of 20 white people. Like, I didn't see my first black person until 5 years ago. Like, wow. What do I do? But we get complacent in Canada and think because we're this multicultural place, there's people who like they should know. But again, like, you don't know, you don't know. So, like, when someone's doing something that can be taken the wrong way, take a moment to ask them, like, why do you think this is right? And even those people who are doing, like, those negative comments, give them the space. Maybe they just feel, like, unheard and say, like, thanks for your comment. I don't like the negativity or it's taken the wrong way. Can I ask why you seem like why you're going after people? And just really kind of ask those open-ended questions, like, why? Why are you so this? And then, so there was that with the Black Lives Matter. And then, so with the work that I do at the Africa Center, we had a conversation. I said, you know what? A lot of people look at black people and only see slaves. Like, we so often forget there's a history before slavery. And so I got to partner with Charlene Smith in Inverse Yoga. She does twerk yoga. No one knows about it. It's really fun. And we created, like, a whole program where she went through, like, the history and talked about, like, there's Egyptian yoga. Like, there's actually yoga based from Egypt. And I had no idea. So it's like, here's these cultural things, but here's this beauty that exists in black culture. Hi, WA. So that's something that was, like, so inspirational, is just having that conversation of, you don't know what you don't know. And so just like how you're out here telling all of us kind of senior citizens, I joke, how to use TikTok, right? Because we don't know what we don't know. I'm just like, why is my niece doing the same dance today? We all, the listeners, the viewers, the Instagrammer scrollers, we have the power to educate people on our plights, our businesses, our loves, our joys. And I think the more we do it from a place of authentic passion, the more we're going to see that authentic, real positive change.
I absolutely agree. Wow, it was a great chat. I'm definitely uploading this on my page, and I definitely will put it on my YouTube channel, screen recorded. I'll put it on LinkedIn, and I'll put it on my personal and business Facebook just to give you some shine. And I'll tag you as well, and if I can find you on platforms.
You know what? It's literally just my name. That is something that's so cool about having like a weird name. Is that you can find me by my name.
That's true. Thank you so much, Odion. Thanks for everything. Thanks for all the referrals over the years. Thanks for believing in me 2 years ago because I had a smaller account. I was super shy. I was filming videos in the dark looking crazy and just totally introverted. And you believed in me, and I appreciate you. And, yeah, when you get your book launched, let me know, and I'll have you back on my show.
Thanks. And don't stop believing in yourself, Nikita, and everyone who's watching. Like, we all... You know what? We all came into this world naked. We all start our businesses scared. We just have to find our niche. And when someone's trying something new, never kick them. Ask how you can support them because, like, I'm really grateful and I am where I'm at in my business because people have believed in me. Even when they were, and I know in the back of their minds, they were like, what the heck is she doing? And so for me, it's really important, especially as females and minority females too. Whatever it is you're doing, even if it's like I'm gonna pick up dog poop, like we gotta do it together.
I agree.
Well, thanks for having me and keep kicking butt. You're still not gonna get me on TikTok, but and I am gonna exit out of this so you can do your TikTok live.
Okay, bye everybody.